Hello, Sabrina.
Hello.
How are you today?
I am great. Having
I'm,
a
I'm,
good fire.
I'm happy to hear that. I have been looking forward to our conversation. As you know, I've been speaking to women this month about their values and specifically ones that line up with the Ascentim's values. And so far I've had conversations about courage, about teamwork, about authenticity, but I think I've saved the best for last because today we're talking about love.
I agree. I think you've saved the best for the last. Not me, but like to the topic. Yeah.
So to kick us off, why don't you tell those who are listening, who are you, what you do? Let's get to know Sabrina.
Sounds good. Yeah, so my name is Sabrina Tabler. I'm the owner of Grace Consulting. And Grace is spelt with a Y. And the reason that it's a brand and marketing consulting company. And I'll tell you a little bit about how I came up with the name. So the name is actually just given to me. I feel like it was a gift from God years ago. I didn't really know what the business was going to evolve into or what it was going to be exactly until I was also given that information from above. And so the Y is in there because sometimes there's like a little bit of a gray area for businesses where they maybe don't know what the next steps are. They just need a little help with their brand and marketing. And so I feel like Grace is what fills in that. So that's actually my tagline is between good and great, there's grace. And so fills on multiple levels. So we do a little bit of everything. I'll do a brand audit, for businesses that are already established. I will kind of do a sweep through of all the marketing pieces. There's other companies that have maybe been, that are just starting out that need a whole brand kit started right from scratch. Everything from social media to websites to if you need print stuff. Yeah, we kind of do a little bit of everything.
I think that's awesome. And I love that line between good and great. There's grace. And I think we can all test that. Sometimes we need a little grace. In fact, a lot of grace.
Okay.
And there is this big gray area. I can certainly attest to that. Starting up a business, there's so many things as an entrepreneur that you need to learn and to do, and it can feel overwhelming. And I think that's where you and your organization can come in and really help to give someone the grace that they need to do what they're good at and allow you as a marketing and branding expert to take that part or that worry, that concern, those tasks off of their plate.
Exactly.
Yeah. So love is one of Ascentim's values. And here we at Ascentim, and I say that love really is our driving force. It is the thing that guides us. It serves me well in terms of how I coach my clients and trying to approach them in a loving and supporting way. But love is not a term that we're typically associating with business. Mm-hmm. So share, if you will, how it is that you infuse love into your work in marketing and branding.
Mm-hmm. This is a topic I love to talk about, just because I feel like it is the cornerstone in my business. And it is what I base all decisions on, all the interactions I have, whether that's client interactions, whether that's different vendors, whether it's the people that help me out, my employees, my, the people that support me in my business. Because I feel like when you operate with love as the number one thing, everything else falls into place. And it is one of the biggest human needs. And we really want that reciprocated so that I just wanted to make sure in my business that that was where everything radiated out from. So it kind of started with my Instagram handle is @withlove&grace, and it just kind of spun from there. And it actually felt a little bit vulnerable at first to really infuse and really be forthcoming in that my business is based like with love. But since I've done that, and because it aligns with me, it is just, that's so authentic, and it just shines through. And actually that's what people want and they're drawn to, and they actually really want it. They don't understand, they don't necessarily know that that is an element that is really needed in their business and in their interactions, but yeah, it really is.
Yeah, love is so essential. It is a basic human need. And I know that you're a woman of faith, as I am. And so you will understand when I say that God is love. And so when you're infusing your business with love and grace, for me, that means you're including God and His grace into your business.
Every facet, absolutely. Yeah. And the word grace and the play on that word has also just permeated through everything in my business. So I give grace, I accept loving grace when I make mistakes, because that's just inevitable. We're human. And so, yes, definitely God's love and grace is just infused into my business everywhere.
That is fantastic. And so, words are very important to me. So in my office behind me, you can see on the bookshelf is the word love. I see on your shelf is the word blessed. And so share with me, if you will, how has your business been blessed by leading with love?
Oh my goodness, where do I start? I feel like every single client that I've had since the day I started my business has been brought to me out of love, whether that is a referral from someone that is really close to me, or whether that has just been translated out in all of my messaging and what I'm trying to put out there. And that's just naturally what has attracted the right people to me. And also the right people that have come alongside with me and to support me in my business as well. I feel like the more authentic I am and just letting that out, the more that it draws in the right people. I have to admit that when I first started putting some of the messaging out there, and I think because love can be a term that's often used with women, especially, I felt like maybe I was, not addressing men, or that they would be maybe turned away in some fashion. But actually, it's been the opposite that is starting to happen. And it's making me realize that like how much love is actually really wanted in business in particular, where that hasn't been something that's been talked about. And I had new clients just recently. It's a male-owned wealth management company, and two of the men on the call, they started off saying that how much they loved my tagline, between good and great, there's grace. And they also, my email signature is with love and grace. And then I put my name, and they made comments about both of those things. And I just thought I wasn't expecting that from men. But I realized, oh, wow, like it was really well received by them as well. So it's just those little things that show that that's the basis of all that I do. And in return, the blessings, when I operate from that, the blessings that come back are tenfold all the time. Yeah.
Wow, that is so amazing. And it's funny because, and while I said we maybe saved the best for last, I feel like so much of what I've previously talked about with other women business owners is folding into this, because really what you're describing too is having the courage to put yourself out there, to be authentically you. Love and grace and your faith is all part of who you are. And so you've brought that into your business, and now you're being well received because of it, because you're allowing yourself to have the courage to be authentic and to show up with love and grace.
Absolutely. And I think that has also been the basis of the packages that I design for my clients. So I really help educate on my programming is called Brand U, like with the letter U, and it's all about letting that light shine out of what is authentically within. And so I feel like when people are operating from that, they naturally bring in the right people. And so that's my favorite part, is drawing that out in my clients.
Yeah. So when I thought of this value, love, I naturally thought of you for all the reasons that we've already discussed. But what I can share is that, so many people say to me how they love my brand. I've gotten so many compliments on how great I show up on social media. And I always tell them, it's not me. I certainly have some input, but it really is you. I could say it's Grace Consulting that does all of the work to make Ascentim look good on social media. And so I've personally experienced the power that comes from you operating from a place of love and helping each of your clients show up in a way that represents them well. So thank you for doing that for Ascentim.
You're so welcome. It's a blessing to have you as a client. Like I've said, you are the blessing to me and I'm the lucky one. I just get to show the world how amazing you are. So I feel like I have the best job, actually.
No, I have the best job because I get to help people live their full, abundant lives.
Right? I know. What we do is so amazing.
No, I think what we're saying, though, in really in all sincerity, is that when you operate from your unique gifts and talents and strengths, when you're operating in the assignment that you have been given, it is the best. It really is the best. And then you can connect with other people who are working in their area of greatness. And when you put it together, you get something that's very, very impactful.
Very powerful. Absolutely.
So have you had a time when you lovingly had to turn down a client, maybe that you couldn't work with someone, and that was really the most loving thing that you could do, was to say no?
Yes, actually, there've been a couple. Admittedly, I don't know that I fully said no, but I knew instinctually in my heart that it wasn't a good fit. And I think reciprocated, I think they could feel that too. And then it was just you know what, I think we're not going to work together. It's been rare, which has been nice. So I think the right people are getting in touch with me. And it hasn't felt that it didn't feel like a bad thing. It was like, no, you know what, we're just not aligned, and that's totally fine. They're going to find someone else that they're completely aligned with, and it's going to be amazing. So it has never felt like a loss of any sort. And then I feel strongly that I will be guided to find those right people, and there will be more that will come. And yeah, I feel I rest in a lot of peace that I'm constantly being guided to the right people at the right time, and that if it's not a fit, you just kind of move on. And yeah,
that's really good, because I think when it's not a fit and you move forward and you find someone where it is a fit, then that's where magic can really happen.
Absolutely, magic. Yeah. And it almost doesn't feel like work. Like it really is just a lot of fun, and you're both working towards these amazing goals together. And yeah, it just fits. It doesn't feel like work when it's like that.
Yeah. So it's Women's History Month, and part of, I really think that the women that I'm talking to, like yourself, are actually making history right now. So how are you making history or helping your clients to make history?
I feel like just infusing the word love into my particular branding and kind of sets the stage and almost gives permission for other people to also infuse that into their messaging and their branding, and that I don't just talk the talk, I also walk the walk, and I'm infusing that into all of what I do, and then they see that, and then it's like, okay, well, she's done that. So I feel like it's kind of making that step in history towards not feeling like that's unprofessional to talk about this type of thing, and that love isn't a thing that's not business oriented. It's actually something that can be infused in everything that you do. And then I think the other part is that I think women sometimes have a tendency to feel nervous about putting themselves out there. And so since day one, since I started my business, I've seen so many women just grow in their branding and in feeling confident in themselves and putting themselves out there. And it can feel scary and it can feel vulnerable. And so I think just continuing to lift each other up, and just keeping on that path. I feel like the women coming up underneath us are, we're just setting that stage and really showing them that it's okay, and it's okay to be vulnerable, and it's okay to show up. And sometimes we're not perfect. Actually, there is no such thing as perfect, and just being okay with that. And as long as you're showing up as your authentic self and that your giftings are being shone through, that's why you're on this earth. And so, like what you do and how you draw out those giftings in people, coupled with then I come in behind and then like blast that to the world, is just like the most amazing thing ever.
Yeah, I love that. We're empowering each other, using our gifts to uplift one another. So talk a little bit about the process. Like where's the magic sort of behind the scenes? Take us behind the curtain, if you will, and just talk about what the process looks like. So if someone comes to you as a new client, what's the process that you go through to get to know them and learn their business and create this loving expression of them that can be marketed out to the world?
Yeah. So I guess from the exploratory call, initially, if someone reaches out, whether it's through my social or through email, we'll set up a meeting. And then whether it's a video call or in person, if it's someone local, but I work with people all over the world, and we just chat and see if it's a good fit off of the start. But then if they're ready to go and kind of dive in, depending on where they're at with their business, I like to do a brand development questionnaire. So I will send out, and it's not your typical kind of questionnaire. Like I go deep into core values and how does it feel? How do you want your customers to feel? Like it goes beyond very service oriented and really gets to the heart of why they're doing their business, how they want to impact the world with what they're doing, and then what makes them different and how they stand out. And sometimes that can be really hard for people. And so I help to just gently guide that along and help them. And every one of my clients that has done this process, it really makes them go, oh, I loved that. I loved having to stop and think those things through. And then it rolls through everything from like that right down to colors, and like what colors feel like they're reflective of you, what colors do you really not like, and the why, and like, just kind of, I walk them through that whole process. And from that, then that gives me such good information of then how can we build the visual identity that reflects that. So then I put all of those elements into, because it's deeper. A brand is so much deeper than a lot of people think, that it's just the logo and the visuals that you see, but it's so much bigger than that. And so that's why I ask all of those questions. And then we build that into the brand. So an example of a client of mine in our exploratory call and through the brand questionnaire, she mentioned that she's in the health field, and she mentioned that her dad always says, "Oh, you're like a health angel." And so that little tidbit was what we built her logo, and it has just this like abstract angel wing built into her logo, which is just so fitting. It's subtle, but it has so much meaning behind it, and the fact that that's like what her dad calls her, and how she wants to show up, and the basis of a core value that's in her. And yeah, so little things like that help in the whole development process, which is maybe a little bit different than what other brand and marketing companies do. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, because right from the beginning, you're getting to the heart of the matter, pun intended, for what really matters for each client. And then that means that there is no cookie cutter branding that you're creating. It really is, as you say, brand you. It is unique to each of your clients and their brand, their values and beliefs, and what they like and don't like, and what they want to share out to the world.
Yeah. And I often tell my clients that's really the only thing that's unique when it comes to branding and marketing is themselves. So there can be 1,000 different health coaches and financial coaches and nutrition coaches and all that, but there's only one of them and their company. Like, so that's the single most powerful marketing tool is themselves, and how they operate and how they show up in the world, and how that radiates to, if they've got employees that they've got, that is what shines through. And that's the heart of it, is what needs to be marketed, because that's what differentiates them from everybody else out there. And that's their God-given talents that they've been gifted from day one. And all I got to do is just pull that out a little bit, and then I can let the world know about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. So you talk about the heart of the brand and what makes them unique. There are lots of companies out there that are doing marketing and branding and social media strategy and all of those things. So I think I know the answer, but I'd love to hear it from you. What makes Grace unique?
Yeah, well, I think I've already kind of touched on a few of the things, but I think the fact that I operate purely out of love and grace is the number one thing with my business. If those two elements are not happening, and whether that's with me, with the clients, with the people that I have working for me, with my vendors, with any element, if that's not there, things will start to break down. Those are like the non-negotiables, I guess. And I feel like that does set me apart. And I've had people comment that, like, even reading my messaging, they feel comforted and they feel taken care of. And those are top priorities for me. I never want someone to feel like it's just a business transaction. I develop friendships, and it becomes more than just business to me, because I feel like that then we work together and we build things together, and that's more important to me than just a transactional thing.
Yeah, I love that you're building friendships that become, sort of starts to feel like family, and there is that loving and supportive and partnering element to it, which is just awesome.
And I get just as excited when my clients are out there just killing it. I feel like I'm part of what they're doing, and in my small little way, but I get just as excited as them. And yeah, I feel like that's the way it should be. And I feel like that's a little different, that sets me apart maybe from other brand and marketing companies. Like, I dive right in, my whole self, my whole heart, my whole everything. Yeah,
I think that is definitely true. I think the other thing from my experience, Sabrina, that sets you apart is I'm going to say it's just the gentle way in which you guide, or which you lead, probably is even better, because it doesn't feel like you're being led, but it really is, because it comes from a place of love. And so you have this unique way of directing me, I'll say, and I'm sure you do it with all of your clients, and directing me in the right direction and bringing new opportunities and new possibilities that maybe I wouldn't have thought of or considered, but you just sort of lovingly present it. And I think that's fantastic.
Oh, that's so good.
So there are, I'm sure, many people who will, watch this who are contemplating starting their own business, or maybe they're new in business and they're wondering, like, I like what I'm hearing, but would I do this? So what advice would you give to another woman entrepreneur, wherever she may be in her stage of business, as to how she could start to infuse love as a strategy for her business?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think number one, for women especially, is just like spending time with yourself, listening to your heart, and not letting the busyness. There's so many to-do items and checklists and things to do in business that are very logistic oriented. But just spending that time and really checking in with yourself and listening to that intuition, because women are very, very intuitive, and just doing that little check-in on, does this align? Does this feel good? Does this fit? Does this, and if it doesn't, then that's an easy decision. So I really feel like any women that are just starting out or just trying to infuse this in, I would say that's like step one, is just doing a little check-in and listening to that little gut instinct or that little heart prompt, and that says like yes or no, and really following that and trusting that and knowing that that is your internal guidance with it. And then it actually makes decision making really a lot easier when you do that. So I wish that someone had, told me that right off the start. But I feel like I got it fairly quickly, especially because the way that I designed my business came from that, purely from that. And even though I was so scared off the start and I had no idea what I was doing and what I was jumping into, I kept trusting that God guided me on this and filled my heart with this like peace in it. So every time I felt a little like, I don't know what I'm doing, as soon as I would do that little check-in, I was filled with peace. You're like, you're on the right track. You've got this. Yeah. So that would be I think my advice to.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, to just, spend some time to listen to your own heart and to do that check-in, because you're right, we are very intuitive. And I think what happens, maybe it's just me, but what happens for me, I can say, is that my gut instinct is usually spot on. But what happens is I'll start to get it out of my heart and into my head and start rationalizing and thinking and probably over processing and overthinking things. And then I end up making a decision that doesn't align with what my gut or what my heart initially told me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's always when we we need the brain power to do the things, but it shouldn't ever take over what the heart's directives are, because they are always right. They're always spot on.
Yeah, I read somewhere someone said it's okay to follow your heart. In fact, you should follow your heart, but just be sure to take your head along with you.
Yes.
So it's not one or the other. It's okay to lead with your heart, but we are in business, and there are certain things that relate to business that are very head driven, and so you need that part too. But leading with love and allowing love to be the foundation or the basis by which you operate, I think it's great. It makes for a great customer experience, great experience with your partners and your employees, etc., if it is a loving and supportive environment.
Yeah.
Well, I am so glad that we had this opportunity to talk today. Is there anything else that people should know about Grace that you want to share before we end our time?
I guess just if you're curious about getting in touch with me, my email address is just sabrina@grace.ca, Grace with a Y. And My website is grace.ca, so you can book an online call there or reach out to me anytime, even if it's just, to say hello. Or I would love to meet any women entrepreneurs. I have no problem just even, giving some advice over the phone or over a video call, and where it goes from there. I love when everyone's thriving. So and I love meeting new people. So
I think that's fantastic. I'm a little bit selfish. I don't want too many people to find you so that you don't have time for me. Is that wrong? Is that not coming from a loving place?
it is very loving. It's very loving.
No, in all sincerity, I would highly recommend Grace. I think that, as I said, Sabrina, you are the secret sauce, and infusing love and grace into what you do is just fantastic. It makes for a unique experience, and something that the outcome well represents the unique nature of the business owner. And so I appreciate everything that you have done for Ascentim, and helping us to launch and to move beyond launch now and into kind of getting into a rhythm of business and showing up well. So thank you for that.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. My pleasure.